Welcome to the Scooter Pitch Podcast. There are no winners, no prizes, but if you're lucky, you'll get robbed. This is the show where my YouTube members submit their creative works to get roasted. And if anyone in the audience wants to steal the idea or make some tasteful fan art, we'll feature it in the next episode. We encourage theft because your ideas are not special. If you're interested in having your original work roasted in the next episode, become a YouTube member and you'll get a spot. It's only $2, no promises it'll stay that low forever, and you'll find the submission form under the membership tab. Meanwhile, if you want to steal any of the submitted pitches, at me on Blue Sky or Substack, and I'll feature you on the next episode. Just so we're clear, you do not have to pay for us to show off your fan art and thievery, but showing off your original ideas, you gotta pay up for that. And we have recently sweetened the deal for members. You can now submit an unmade elevator pitch and anything you've made recently. That's right, your membership now gets you access to 2 submission forms. So how are you doing, Komugi? What do you think of these 2 submission forms?
Thank you so much for having me on today's episode. I am doing awesome. I have been very busy kind of just getting finished a lot of projects that I needed to get finished for a while. And that really makes me excited to talk about this week's pitches and fan art that was made for you, because it feels like I've really been a creator myself recently, creating a lot of things, working on finishing up creations. And as a result, I'm excited to talk about other people's creations.
That's awesome. And I saw that you did a little thievery yourself since we last talked. In the last episode, I was drawing my short manga Hoofimitsu. It's about a boy who secretly has hooves. And wouldn't you know it, but Komugi Komugi loved it so much that she made this beautiful like short animation for it. I loved it so much. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy you liked my Hoofimitsu anime commercial. I was
Yes.
inspired by there's this thing that like webcomic websites do. I see Webtoon do it a little bit. Tapas has been doing it a little bit as well. Is it pronounced tapas or is it tapas?
Tapas. Yeah.
Tapas.
Yeah.
Tapas and Webtoon, they do those YouTube shorts which advertise the comics, and they're really cool. In particular, there's this Japanese Webtoon called Clevates, and if you ever are able to look at the Clevates, spelled like Clevatess, like trailer for the webcomic, oh, it's so cool. It's like a YouTube short that like animates the manga. So I
That's
tried to do
cool.
something similar with Hoofimitsu. And I really love Hoofimitsu, as I love all of Taper's
Oh,
manga. And it just so happened that when Hoofimitsu came out, it was the perfect time where I had some free time to do some animating. But I'm going to be honest, now that I'm finally working on finishing some long-standing projects that I've been working on, I see myself having a bit more free time, quite a bit more free time. So any future manga that you make, I can see myself giving them the anime treatment like
thank
that
you.
again.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. I'm just so touched. The work the one that you did for Hoofimitsu blew my mind. It was so cool. I love the little tagline that you gave it. What was it? It was like, what if your number one had hooves? Like
That's
it was
exactly what it was. You
yes,
remembered it.
it's
I'm
a
so happy.
perfect summary of that manga. And I feel like I kind of betrayed Hoofimitsu because I was like feeling really good when I made that manga. I was like, yeah, these character designs feel awesome. Like I really like the 3D models I was using. So I took see now this is like the sad part is that I took the Hoof Boy from Hoofimitsu and I used that same character model in my next manga, which is the one that you are seeing on screen today, the one that I am drawing right now. I say right now, but you know, it's edited later. But but I took Huff Boy and I took his model and I put him in a new manga, and he is a total asshole in this new manga. And so if you like the cute little Hoof Boy, well, I'm sorry, but he got reincarnated as a scumbag hetero guy. um, the manga is called Sadistic X Streamer, and it's probably my most heterosexual manga to date. I know I'm really calling my shot here, but it's about a very cute young woman who is a streamer, but her boyfriend, she's not really sure if the boyfriend likes it or not. So it's about him kind of half teasing, half approving of her online shenanigans. It's pretty fan service heavy, mostly focused on the girl, and how deep in the weeds could we get for this manga?
Oh, please feel free to go as
Okay,
deep as you want. I love
okay.
hearing about what you've been
Thank
working
you,
on.
thank you. So I made this manga. Oh yeah, and the storyboards for this manga that's available for my YouTube members. If you want to check that out, there's some pretty noticeable differences between the storyboard and the final version. The final version is available for everyone. I'll link it in description. And probably the most notable change that I made from storyboard to the final version was in the storyboard, she calls the guy her husband, and then I changed it to boyfriend in the final version, because if you're reading this and you're thinking, this guy is such a freaking scumbag, she needs to dump his ass right now. Like, if you have that inclination while you're reading that, it's a lot easier to think that like, no, break up with him, god damn it, like if they're just dating, whereas like marriage is gonna, like, there's a few more steps involved with breaking them up then. So I'm like, okay, for reader sanity, if they think that this guy is too much of a jerk, I will say that they are boyfriend and girlfriend. So so I drew this for Manga Lab. They were having a manga contest they were asking for fetish manga, and they made it explicitly clear this is a goddamn free for all. You can do male, female, 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 male, male, like any gender combination, any fetish, any kink, do whatever the fuck you want. But I did know, like, you know, based on the judges and the magazine, that they are aiming for more of a female audience. And so even though TL manga is like, it's kind of hard to explain because it's not like really translated very heavily, because basically it's manga for straight women, but also like featuring a heterosexual pairing. And like and there is like that kind of like female power fantasy of like, but the girl also looks really fucking hot. But it's like, it's a very interesting line that they walk, where it's like, okay, the girl is like very sexual and a sexual being, but it doesn't like go to like over the top the way that it's drawn for a male audience. And it's a very interesting line, and I don't know if I delivered on that, because it's like, because when I drew this, I was thinking of like a very specific fantasy that, you know, I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to out anyone, but one of my straight female friends has, where, you know, she's like, okay, dream life, I'm a streamer, I'm just being cute on the internet, and I've got like this big dominant boyfriend, like, you know, this very hetero female mindset. And where, like, you know, some people can see that as like, okay, that's like a little demeaning. Other people could say like, hell yeah, that sounds cool, I want to be a hot girl on the internet. And so like, so I'm like, so I tried to make a TL manga with that in mind, but, you know, I don't know if I went too far with like making the girl too sexual, or if I didn't go far enough with like making the guy desirable for the female audience. And it's like, it's something very interesting to figure out. It's a genre of manga that is kind of difficult. And this contest, it has over 200 entries, so I'm like, okay, I'm not getting in. Like, you know, I'm not. This is pretty tough. So I've already accepted, like, okay, that's gone. This was just like a good like art exercise. But this was interesting. I saw that Viz Originals is open for submissions, and for Viz Originals, they want at least 10 pages of black and white manga to illustrate your work. And I'm like, oh shit, this is a 10-page manga. I could give it to them. So I might end up deleting it from Manga Labs and just go with it and just make like a pitch for Viz Originals. The thing is, Viz Originals, they ask you to make like a whole submission document. So they want a story synopsis, character description, character designs, target audience, and comparable titles, and things like that. They want like a whole docket. And so I was writing a proposed, okay, this is like if the story continued, how, like, you know, try to write like, you know, if it got multiple chapters, like I'm thinking like 1 volume long for this. And I remembered some editorial advice that I got for another manga of mine. And it was for this manga. I'm almost embarrassed saying it. It's for this manga titled "My Boyfriend Wants a Hamburger More Than Sex," and if you search that title plus manga read online, it's been reposted to different manga pirating websites. The English version, that is, and so you can read that, and that was like, I don't know what the fuck I was doing with that one. Because like there are some battles where like I deliberately was like trying to draw the characters as goofy as possible, but then also there were a lot where I was just trying to draw them as like very sexual as possible. And so like, I don't know. I don't know what I was going through. But I got some really good editorial advice for that manga. and I'll read you like a little bit of it. And this editor said, I felt like the reading experience was suited for a female teen romance audience, but some aspects of the artwork and the depiction of fetishes, such as the female chest, seem more geared towards a male audience. Clarifying the target readership and consciously adapting the artwork and style to match is your shortcut to debuting. So that's what one of the Manga Lab editors said in regards to that work. Now, that like find your audience is like something that has stuck with me where it's like, okay, if the characters are, talking about their feelings, like it's a josei manga, but all the girls are drawn like in this super sexualized way for men, and so there is that like discongruence. And so while I was writing the proposed plot outline for Sadistic Extremer, I was like looking at the plot outline, I'm like, oh no, this is reading like a josei manga. They're like talking about their feelings. Oh no, like it's like this girl isn't being hot. And I'm thinking, like, is it better? And I'm looking at like the 10 pages I drew, and it's like, yeah, this probably does like read more like a manga for men, just because there's just so much focus on, wow, look at how hot this girl is. Even though like the guy is, very much that like dream boyfriend for a girl, it like the way the girl's presented, it's more for like the male consumption. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. And I was thinking back to that advice of like, yeah, there's this mishmash between your art style and your story style, and so you need to pick a lane. And that's hard. And I where I'm like, okay, do I like start over? Do I like write this to be more raunchy and more for the male audience, or since like, the 10 pages are already drawn, or do I or do or do I say like, hey, JK, like that opening page was just like a goof to get your attention. It's actually about her feelings. And it's very tricky. And I think especially since I just really love manga, and especially since it's hard to say like, okay, you need to pick one kind of manga and stick with it. It's like, okay, but if you look through all of the one shots I draw, it's like I just like drawing a lot of different kinds. And I know that's something that the mangaka Boichi has said, is that you need to find a manga magazine that you want to apply for, and you need to think of this as seriously as picking a marriage partner, and you need to think of this and conform your style to this, and think of the kind of stories that they are telling and the kind of stories that you want to tell. And like, that's hard. So, because I'm thinking of the Hamburger Boyfriend manga, how it's like, that was a few years ago, and I'm still just like, I don't know. I like manga. Well, what am I supposed to do? but I'm working on a pitch for on the little pitch docket for Viz Originals. Hopefully I'll hear back from them. Hopefully I'll figure it out. And sorry, I went on a tangent there.
No, it's completely okay. I really think it's interesting to hear about your plans for your manga, and I think you deserve to be very proud of your work, even though you say like, "Oh, I just use 3D models." I want to reassure you that I do that as well.
Oh,
I actually rely on 3D models quite a bit, mainly when I am working on Lucario stuff. Pokemon
yes.
in general, they're very complicated because you have to be able to like get the details. Like they'll have random spikes and they'll have
Yeah.
random features that of course you wouldn't see on a typical like humanoid furry. Like you look at a
Yes.
humanoid furry, like let's say one of the ones from like BoJack Horseman or something, and they're
Mm,
mostly humanoid
yeah.
except they have an animal head, which is like
True.
I can draw from my own body. I can look at my hand and like,
Yeah.
oh, that could be Mr. Peanut Butter's hand. Except
Yeah.
I'm not Mr. Peanut Butter. I'm
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
of a different character. But anyway,
Yeah.
so different with Pokemon because Pokemon have these like hard to draw like scales and like spikes. And with Lucario, I use the Pokemon X and Y model or sometimes the Sword and Shield one. But I find the X and Y one particularly easy because it's more polygonal. So it lets me like
Yeah.
figure out the edges of Lucario easier. The Sword and Shield model is harder to draw on top of because
Oh
it's so
yeah.
smoothed out. It's basically the X and Y one, but all smooth. And yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm going on a tangent too now,
No,
but
I
what I
get
mean
you.
to
I
say is
get you.
that I always use 3D models, or a lot of the time I use 3D models. Although at work I have been starting to draw in my sketchbook, and I because I just have enough time at work where I can draw in my sketchbook sometimes, and I've been doing Lucario drawings without a 3D model, and I've
That's
been very
awesome.
proud of how that's been
Yeah.
going. In
That's so
fact, if you
cool.
want to include one of them on the screen, I could totally
Yeah.
send you one of my
That'd be
Lucario
great.
sketches. I'll message you it.
Yes. I
Yay!
can never remember how Lucario's tail is shaped, so I, I totally feel you there. I've drawn plenty of Lucarios, and it like stumps me every time.
Let me make it super easy for you. Lucario's tail is like a scythe.
Oh, Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just imagine like Soul Eater Mako with her scythe, or like any character uses a scythe, like the Grim Reaper
Mm,
from Puss in Boots 2, like the classic
yes.
scythe. It really is that shape with Lucario's tail. It
Nice.
goes like very sharp, very short, like thin, and then the top part is like a scythe shape. It curves down. It's very cool.
Yes.
So yeah, I believe I should probably update you a little bit about what I've been working on. Would you like
Yeah,
me to tell
yeah,
you about that?
definitely.
And then we can
Definitely.
transition into the wonderful art and like pitches we're going to talk about. So
Yeah.
in the spirit of making creations and like trying to get things done, I've really been finishing up some of my pre-existing projects. I've had Genki and Sienna in the chamber for so long, and the chamber of like art that I'm ready to fire out of my party cannon and show the
Mhm.
whole world. And I've decided that in the meantime, while I try to like get the details of I'm doing the animation literally pencil and paper. I use a pencil when I draw on paper, and I use your lovely light table or light board that you gave me,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. And so it takes a long time to do. So in the meantime, while I work out the details of everything being hand drawn, I have wonderful tools. It's very
Yeah.
challenging to draw. Like it's like totally new to me. But well, it's not new. I've been doing it since I was a kid. But it's like I've
Mhm.
never done it to this detail. I've
Yeah.
never done an entire short film with pencil and paper. Usually I just use pencil and paper as like a starting point, and then I digitize it in order to finish it. But this is
Mhm.
kind of like the opposite. Like it's all going to be pencil and paper. So while I try to work out those details, I've been working on other mediums of doing Genki and Sienna content. As a start, we have a TikTok. On TikTok, it's the exact same name that everyone knows me as on YouTube. It is Genki and Sienna, I believe. Let me check that. I want to make sure it's not actually. Yeah, it's Genki and Sienna. I think I was tempted to call it Sienna and Genki, like swap it around for like
Mhm.
quirky fun stuff. But then I
Yeah,
decided to myself that it's better branding for it to consistently be Genki and Sienna.
that makes
And so
sense.
yeah, it's on TikTok as well. I reposted my animation that I made for you onto TikTok. It actually got over 200 views
That's
and 3
awesome.
likes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've got some other cool content that I've been doing on TikTok. Precure content on TikTok is very popular. So what I decided to do is I decided to try making some Precure content on there, but like including Genki and Sienna branding in the corner. So people who like go to me and see a cute Precure clip and like I get like 50 likes on it. They also see like Genki and Sienna and they see the little characters in the corner and like,
Yeah,
what's this? Let me look up that page now. So
nice.
yeah, just using other popular media as a way of building a page about my original IP. And so another interesting avenue that I'm very interested to do, I would like to do some sort of like short game or potentially like a motion comic because I do know how to code in HTML. I learned that in
Nice.
college, and I know how to code games. I know how to code like Game Boy games. I make Game Boy homebrew. It's another one of my passions. So I'm gonna do. I think motion comic is the direction I'm thinking of, and the reason for that is because if I do a Genki and Sienna motion comic that's like you click and the comic moves you to each page, I could put it on Newgrounds, and that would be so cool.
That is cool. Yes.
Yeah. And so basically that's everything except I also wanted to mention the other project that I've been working on finishing. There's this lovely project known as Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi Reanimated. I'm sure you know about what reanimated projects
Mm,
are.
yeah.
As a part of my Genki and Sienna page, I participated in Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi Reanimated, and it was so fun doing my first few parts. So I started taking on more and more parts. So one of my most recent videos on Genki and Sienna was me doing even more parts for Hi Hi Puffy Yumi Reanimated. And both of those pull in great views for my channel. So it's been really great to just be able to like repost my little part that I animated myself and like people actually do watch it. That's very touching and makes me very
So
happy that
cool.
people like that on my channel. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also there's been some preacher clips on my channel, mainly scenes that are gay coded with the mascots. I've been
Yeah.
posting that on
Yes.
Sienna. So and that's been doing well in terms of views. And I love to give people gay furry content. So yeah, lots of cool stuff I'm just posting to keep the channel active and excited to finish up that Hi Hi Puffy Yumi thing and keep working on the Genki and Sienna and doing a motion comic kind of thing.
Nice.
That's pretty much me.
That's awesome. And then since
Thank you.
I and now since the manga that is on screen right now, that one is all done. I am also in the background. I'm also working on a manga audition for Comic Trail. They have their annual call for entries, and they posted a bunch of different 4-page prompts for people to do. So I'm gonna try to crank out as many of those as I can. I'll probably post those for members. I don't really know where else I would post those because they don't have like a public platform, and since it's like a prompt for their company, it's like I don't know, it's like I don't really want to post it on another manga website. So members will be getting those as I'm finishing them. And one more manga related news is one little update on Manga Plus creators. My manga AI is Evil has officially, it is in 8th place for the monthly awards for July of 2025. The ranking was confirmed today. So I'm very touched that it was able to make it to the top 10. Thank you to everyone who left a comment, who shared it. I'm going to do a longer video on it, but just in case I really drag my ass on that one and it takes me a while to make a video on that, I really do want to get it out there. Like, thank you so much, everybody who commented and shared my work. It really means a lot. You know, I've talked a lot about how, like, you know, okay, you know, if doing YouTube and you know, being a real groucheroo towards some media, like, has inspired me to make better media. And you know, I could say like, oh, you know, my art's gotten so much better since I have this, like, this passion, like, you know, I got to get better if I'm going to talk all this shit. Well, it's really nice seeing the inverse of that, where it's just like, oh, I have the love of my friends, and that has propelled me farther than I thought. And I want to say how touched I am that I was able to crawl my way into the top 10 because of everyone's love and support. So I just want to say thank you so much. Now it's not like the contest isn't over yet, because getting in the top 10 means that it's like from there, Shueisha editors will look over the top 10 and they will decide who will win which awards. And I looked through like the past few months, and they seem to give out about 3 awards per month. And it's not like, and it there doesn't seem to be like a correlation between where somebody placed and what award they get, because they have their, just so I don't misquote it, they have their gold, their silver, their bronze, and the runner-up, the creator award. And so like some months they will give out 3 bronze awards, some months they will give out like 2 silvers. Like it's like I don't want to, like, I don't know how familiar you are, Komugi, with manga competitions, but
Not
there is
very. I'm open to learn though.
Okay, because there is like this thing in manga competitions where like it'll say like, oh, the gold grand prize award will be this much money, and you get serialized and you get like, you know, a lot of them will do something like that, but just as often they will say like, oh, no work was good enough to qualify for the first place. They will do things like that, and Manga Plus creators is very much of that mindset of, okay, we're just going to award these to the ones that are of whichever skill level that we deem appropriate. And there are months where nobody gets an award. I'm not expecting to get anything. I think 8th place for the month. I think that's as far as this is going to go, because I did send AI is Evil to some other manga publishers before I put it on Manga Plus creators, and it was pretty
because AI is Evil is a masterpiece.
Thank
it's
you.
legitimately a very genius work.
Oh,
with
you.
like actual heart. It has
Thank
so
you.
much heart to it, and I think it deserves to go far.
But the other, I did get some other editor feedback on it, and, you know, it was pretty across the board. Like, hey, buddy, this isn't really up to snuff. You gotta practice on your everything. Like, to summarize some of the feedback I got. But, you know, it is kind of like with manga, I have found if it's very rare for a manga, if it's rejected in one place, to get picked up by another. Like, it does happen, but I kind of sense it where it's just like, okay, if I sent this out to other places and they all said no thanks, then it's like, okay, well, it's just like a very small miracle that I was able to get into the top 10 for this. But hey, now I could say, hey, I got into the top 10 of Manga Plus creators. That's pretty freaking neat, and I'm very happy that happened. So again, thank you to everyone who left a comment. And I didn't see, I'm a little slow because I didn't realize that your popularity score is only based on the first 7 days from when you post. I thought it was the whole month, and I didn't realize it till like a few days after I post. To like after day 7, I was like, oh wait, I promoting this at this time is futile at this point. Okay, it's locked in. Like, I didn't I don't know if I will ever post on Manga Plus creators again. They have some problems. I'm not really happy with that platform. I probably edit this out. Ooh, this is some spicy talk. But there's somebody who outranked me in that month, who I heavily suspect used botted comments to artificially boost themselves. And it's like, okay, well, you know, you got AI art, you got people buying comments, you got, it's kind of depressing where it's like, okay, it's very cool that like, I was able, through power of friendship, able to get a spot, but it's like, okay, but if half the people there are like, cheating, it's like, well, I don't know, like that kind of sucks. Like, I know on the Japanese equivalent of Manga Plus creators, Jump Rookie, they have rules, they have stricter rules where it's like you can't buy, like they have a rule where it's like you can't buy an ad for your manga to advertise it and boost its numbers. Like they have things like that. And I don't see any AI art on that website, so I don't know what rules are in place for that, or if it's just like a self-regulating thing where it's just like, well, nobody's gonna post AI art because it fucking sucks. Like, and then like, okay, if I could go on one more tangent, but
Of course.
that like my manga getting this far in Manga Plus creators, this is one of the farthest, like this is like the farthest one of my manga has gone, is getting to the top 10 of a contest, like and making it past that first round. This does make it, if you look at, all of the different like awards and accomplishment, like this is up there. And because most of them I just accept like, okay, this isn't going to go anywhere. This was just an art exercise that I will maybe get editor comments on, and then I can use that to improve. That's like my mindset when it comes to entering manga contests. Like I don't ever expect that I will win. So making this first cut is pretty cool. Now the thing is, Manga Plus creators, this like adds to my like the not sure of what genre to go down troubles that I was talking about a little bit earlier, because Manga Plus creators, it is largely a shonen platform, and shonen like is what performs there. And the goal of Manga Plus creators is the gold award is you get published on Jump Plus, and the Jump Plus and then the silver awards, silver and bronze, you get on Manga Plus, the app that simulpubs Shonen Jump. And like that's pretty cool. That is an admirable goal to have. But it's like, okay, I made a shoujo manga that is competing, that was able to rank in a contest that is primarily shonen driven. Like they don't explicitly say, oh, we only want shonen, but that is kind of the attitude and the vibe, and and that is the end goal for the manga that is posted there. So it's like, okay, well then what, like, so I have this like kind of feeling like, okay, so then what do I do with that, where it's just like, okay, if one of my best performing manga that has had incredible reception from people is, if it's a shoujo manga and it performed the best on a shonen website, then it's like, that doesn't really like clarify what direction I should go. Whereas like, if this was a shonen manga and it did well, then it's like, all right, going all in on shonen. Then it's like, okay, well, this just tells me that the shoujo manga that like, because this is like very, very shoujo. Like I deliberately tried to make this as shoujo as possible. Guess like, does this say that like, okay, my shoujo manga is that it's like able to be that it has like enough of that kind of manly edge to it that it could eke its way into the Manga Plus creators monthly ranking? Like is that like, which doesn't really tell me anything. I know a lot of people like to talk about like, oh, there's a lot of manga that have cross gender appeal or like the classic examples like Ore Monogatari, My Love Story, or Black Butler, where it's just like, oh, did you know this is, did you know that the genre of that is actually it's yeah. Like, and I know that's very common, but those are more of the exception. And it is, and basically it's like, well, this, even though this is a big accomplishment, I'm like, okay, but I still feel like I don't know what direction I should dedicate myself towards. So I'm still just doing absolutely everything I can. That's why for the Comic Trail manga audition, it's like, okay, I'm just going to go through and try to draw as many of these as I can, hit every genre and category. Because like, I don't know, manga's cool. Like that's
Absolutely. I think it's a very, very great goal to have for yourself. And I wanted to respond to just a couple things you said, and then
yeah.
we can get into the main stuff of the episode.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the idea it being difficult for shoujo manga to get a place within a contest that is so heavily dominated by shonen. And I definitely agree with you there. And that's something that shoujo authors all over the world, whether they be American authors who are trying to publish overseas, like you, or authors who are living in Japan and are working as shoujo authors, are dealing with the fact that many times men just don't have respect for shoujo, and so they'll see it as like lesser. And it's a very difficult thing because shoujo has the power to be for everyone, as has been shown by the works such as Cardcaptor Sakura and Nana, which are like universally acclaimed. And March Comes In Like a Lion, another acclaimed shoujo. But I wanted to bring up that there is definitely quite a few works that surprisingly defy what demographic they're made for. I think one of the most famous ones I think of is Ancient Magus Bride, which everyone always thinks is a
Yes.
shoujo because it has so much shoujo energy. But no, that is a shonen.
Yeah.
And yeah, even one of those things where other shoujo manga are directly comparable to it, like the whole trope of a girl and the monster guy. It's like such a classic trope of shoujo, which we can see go back to like the 70s and 80s with works such as like Bride of Demos. And also
Mhm.
one of the most popular modern shoujo is Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, which is the same thing, a girl and a monster guy. And so the reason I bring this all up is that Sacrificial Princess and several of these other works, they actually have switched magazines as well. I don't know if you knew
Yeah.
about that. It is sometimes possible that a manga will run in a magazine for a while and then get switched. Another famous example is JoJo's. JoJo's went from
Yeah.
shonen to seinen once it started to
Yeah.
get more intense. So definitely keep your eyes open for all different kinds of publishers. Even if you started something on Manga Plus and then you realized that Manga Plus wasn't for you, I've just hypothetical scenario. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if
Yeah.
that somehow happened, that does not mean the doors are closed to you for other publications. You're not stuck with one because a lot of
Hopefully.
authors make the split.
This is
And that's everything I
like
wanted to say.
this is partially why I'm like thirsting so much for like to get an editor assigned because I'm like I am down to draw anything. Tell me what you want. I will do my best to make that style of manga. And I think that's just more of just me having no direction. But you know, it would be nice to have somebody like look at my stuff and be like, hey, this is what you need to do. And to have more of a clear guidance. But again, like why would somebody want to take on an artist if I'm just gonna, you know, sit there with my thumb up my ass and be like, oh, I don't know what to do. You know, it's like they want you to know what you want and to just kind of give that gentle nudge. That's like the ideal scenario. Well, hopefully I hear back from Viz Originals. They're I hear Viz Originals is pretty hard to get into, so I'm not really expecting much, but look, I have a disease where like if I see that a manga publisher is open, I will apply for them. Like that is my sickness. So with that in mind, yeah, let's hit up some comments on comments before we move on because there were some comments from last episode I wanted to hit up. So
Yes, let's do that.
yeah. So I want to start with reading Hero Darky Dark, and they said glad you guys enjoyed the book. Though I don't mind if you spoil the book a bit. Oh, they were the one that wrote The Relentlessly Bullied Hero. Yeah. And they said the first two issues already came out. The next Kickstarter is for the third book, but it's also selling the first two books for a catch up. Hope the future will be bright. Also, it's coming out August, September. All right, very cool. So, Hero Darky Dark, thank you for clarifying. If Relentlessly Bullied Hero looked like your jam, that's when it's doing its Kickstarter. So, thank you for coming back and checking up on that. And hopefully we gave some good sound bites for you.
I really
Yeah.
love talking about Darky Dark's manga too, so it's cool to know more
Yeah.
details about it. And I've got to write a comment to them. I always forget to reply to the comments. I get so happy when I read them and I get like that dopamine rush,
Yeah.
but then I forget to log into my YouTube and
All right.
reply.
No, I get you. I get you. I wanted to read Amy Worrell's comment. Did you want to read that one, Komugi?
The idea of making anyone from my pitch a waifu character is kind of hilarious because this is the most serious, down to earth, depressing medieval war story imaginable, where everyone has a shitty life and there is no simple way to fix anything. No one single antagonist you got to defeat to right the world. As for what kind of dragon Inai turns into, or it might be Enai,
Mhm.
I don't call her any Saktana all the time because it's a long, obnoxious name. Okay, I think it's Enai. As for what kind of dragon Enai turns into, I don't call her Enai Saktana all the time because it's a long, obnoxious name. Just a hyper-realistic pale white dragon with a long neck. You can see white veins in her irises, which are very pale blue because of the lack of pigment. I will admit I was looking forward to you reading that page because the intent was to give you something to latch onto to talk about, as it is very symbolic of what I'm going for and could also serve as a point of discussion without you needing to have any exposure to the same works of fantasy I keep mentioning. Guess I should have specified I had a sniper aiming at you ready to pull the trigger if you don't read it. There is some dragon from Dragon Maid, I think maybe Kana, who is
Yeah.
literally the same as her description,
Yeah.
Amy's description of her own dragon. Isn't Kana the white dragon like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
Amy's? I
Yeah,
think.
she turns into like a fluffy angel dragon.
I knew it.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool.
Now I gotta push back on Amy saying that she is ready that she has the sniper on us. Amy, I'm so sorry. I guess you're gonna have to shoot. I hopefully you didn't feel too disrespected that we didn't read your literary snippet that you sent for us. The truth is, I don't want to read more than a paragraph about something that doesn't exist. That's my mindset. Where when I look at the pitches, like I will just skim over them before I record. Whereas like if there's finished work, I look through that the night before we record so I can catch up on that and read everything. The pitches are just meant to be quick, and you're free to snake around the limitations of the form, but the show is structured a certain way for a reason. And I think a little more visually than Amy, and whereas Amy's like just more literary minded, and I think there was a dissonance there. So I do apologize if felt that we weren't giving you the attention you wanted, but that's just my mindset. Where I don't know, Komugi, if you have any thoughts.
Doing perfect. You did perfectly fine, Taper. And I did want to share a couple thoughts I had about the situation. I am very thankful for what Amy has been able to contribute to the show in terms of offering
Mhm.
things up for us to talk about. It
Oh
is
yeah,
very brave of anyone to come in multiple times because I know for me, before my dreams were kind of fulfilled by actually getting to be the co-host of this wonderful show, I actually did submit my own pitch. I told Taper I have a pitch and I submitted it, and then I ended up saying, "Oh no, we shouldn't talk about it because I'm going to be the co-host now." This was before the
yeah,
show was a thing, before I knew I was going to be the co-host. And I bring it up because I was so nervous when I submitted that, and I was like double checking it, and I was like, okay, I described it as kind of being like Tenchi Muyo.
yeah,
Is Taper going to get the wrong idea that it's like a harem thing? But like Tenchi Muyo is a harem, but it's like a really good
yeah,
wholesome one. Like I had all these thoughts rushing through my
yeah,
head just because of the simple
yeah.
part where you compare it as series meet
Yeah,
series.
it's very
So
easy
it's
for
very
stuff to be
scary to have to commit to it.
misunderstood on this show. Like that, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very aware of that limitation. And I hope that with that limitation it will inspire people to go out and make the thing. Like that's my hope, is that I will read this, I will get the completely wrong idea, and I will give you the worst advice in the world, and you'll be like, what the dink is this? And then you go and you make it. Like, and then you frickin' show me. Like, and the thing is, Amy is like one of the few creators I've found who has a work output that is similar to my own. And that is like part of the goal with me, just like, with the first chunk of this show, with me just like talking about like all the manga I've made and all the stuff that you've made. It's like I want to just have a way to get out there like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And that can be very difficult, when you're just like holed up and you're just drawing, and where it's like, okay, we're trying to, I'm trying to bridge the gap between YouTube and manga, and to try to just make people aware, like any capacity of like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm making a lot of shit. And Amy also makes a lot, and it's very inspiring to see Amy do everything that she does. So in a way, I kind of feel like Amy doesn't, like, I'm not trying to like shoo her away or anything, but I kind of feel like she doesn't need this, because she makes more things than me. Like, she is able to fully realize all of these ideas. So, and again, I'm not like trying to I'm not trying to push you away, Amy, but if you feel like you've evolved past this podcast, then that's a good thing. And I mean that nicely. Like,
That was such a sweet way to put it. I totally understand what you're getting at. And that kind of just reminded me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
oh no,
Were you
no, it's
finished your
okay.
point?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Awesome. I was going to say that kind of reminded me of some of my favorite memories of this podcast so far, and why I feel so happy to get to be the co host for this podcast is because this podcast, like many that I've had the privilege of participating in my life, has had many like unforgettable memories where I gained a huge amount of self confidence from the experience of like getting to talk about other people's creations. In particular with Amy, I remember that when I was giving advice to Amy on how to get the deathless in front of new eyes based on my own experience. And I'm not going to repeat my advice that I gave to Amy because I don't want to be a broken record. I already said it in that episode, and I'm sure I'll give
Mhm.
similar advice
Yeah.
during today's episode to other creators because I see it as very well rounded advice that many people can appreciate. But when I gave that advice to Amy, and it really felt like I was able to offer something to Amy with my advice on how to market myself, I've managed to be quite successful by a lot of luck by just like tapping into stuff like understanding certain fandoms and what they look
Yeah.
for in other content and how I can market myself that way using those fandoms as a jumping off point. So what I mean to say is that giving Amy advice, even though Amy is such a talented writer, was such a incredible moment of my life to get to do that.
Mhm.
And I also really value this podcast because, like you said, I want to know what you're working on in your life, Taper. I want to know what's going on with you. That's also why I love hearing about the newest media that you recommend to me. When you recommended to me the Esper manga with the cute
Yeah.
mascot, because you knew I love
Oh,
mascots, and you
yes.
recommended to me that seasonal anime Necronomico because of how it was
Yeah.
underrated, and you knew I'd like it because it had some furry characters in
Oh,
it.
yes.
I'm glad to know about like what media you're interested in because I see that as inspiring your own creations, not in the sense that you're just doing the same thing as them, but in the sense that we build a visual library as
Oh, yeah.
artists. You and me are both artists, and we look at anime and then we build a visual library in our mind, and that makes our drawings even more full of life.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, I just am very thankful for this opportunity.
Thank you.
It's given me
I'm
great chance to give advice.
yeah, I'm so glad that I have you and I can talk about these things with you. It's very nice to finally have a creative partner who I can just talk with and share these things with. I because I've been doing manga alone for years, and so like just being able to say to someone like, hey. I'm like, to just like jump on you and the audience, like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff. Like I'm very grateful for that, and I do want to thank you, and I want to return the thanks.
Aw,
I think also I am very manga brained. Um, so I do want to find like more people who are making manga, and with the pitches, it's like okay for the different pitches, it's this is this is gonna be like this is like my sensitive snowflake trigger, but if a manga if you have in your idea a manga and you can write more than a paragraph about it, I feel like you are wasting time in that like well if you can say like if you can write that much about it, why haven't you made it yet? And I don't want anyone to feel called out, but like that is like the way that is like why I structured this the way that I have. And
right.
a lot of people like I'm sure like you will see that the way that I do things as kind of crazy and like and and not really vibing with it, and to feel like where I do these like silly little stick figure drawings for the storyboards, and then like and then just do it like just so incredibly vibe based. I'm sure that makes people that upset people who plot a little bit more carefully, because my priority is always can you get it done. And this is the dream scenario for this podcast is somebody has an idea for their manga and they think it's the coolest effing manga in the world, so they submit it to Scooter Pitch Podcast and they're like, wow, I really knocked it out of the park with that one. But then now that it's out there, they have that fear that somebody is going to steal it. So now they got to get to work. And then next month they go to the second submission form. And they're like, look, I made my manga because I was so goddamn scared somebody would steal it. Which like I have a lot of thoughts on like people getting weird about like original character donut steal, but that's like another subject.
Funny.
All right.
Actually, that does lead me into what I was going to do for
Yeah.
my turn in terms of comments I wanted to highlight. Rather
Yeah,
than just
yeah.
highlight one singular comment, I wanted to talk about everyone who left comments on this video because that really does remind me of a great point I wanted to say about this. I think one of the coolest things about Scooter Pitch, the people who comment, the people who become members and submit their pitches to us to talk about, is that we get an idea of what they value in their life
Yes.
at that time, much in the same way that I talked about with you, getting to hear about your newest inspirations and your things that were in your visual library that you appreciate. It's the same way with these commenters, like Hero
Oh yeah.
Darky Dark who comments, Amy Worrell who comments. We have Janie Cox as well. Janie Cox, Janie Gamer Cox, as they are known as on YouTube. They're commenting about things like getting inspired to start thinking of ideas
Yeah.
that we do on the podcast. Like Jeannie Cox mentions, wanting to find a fictional character that they want to marry, which is something
Yes.
they'd never considered in their life before, but they've heard us say it over and over every week. And
Yeah.
that goes for everyone who's commenting,
Yeah.
like
And I
Mayday from Space as well. It's great. Like Mayday's getting inspired to make comics and send them to us. It's awesome. Joe himself, Canadian Turtle, who always is
oh yeah.
commenting on every video. Canadian Turtle, it's so
Yeah.
sweet.
Big
I gotta
shout
go
out to
write a
Canadian
reply to them
Turtle.
too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. That's a great point. It is nice, like, because I could have my like bitterness over like, oh, nobody does things like I do, and I can like stomp around like all angsty because I'm just so special. But you're right, like this is a great way to see what everyone else is doing and their process and their mindsets when creating. And I could stand to be a little more open-minded, definitely. And I do want to have that open mind and open heart to seeing different people instead of and like in their process, rather than just like feeling like, oh, I'm this isolated genius. And that's something that I need to work on and get over. It's so hopefully hopefully this doesn't turn into too much of a therapy session. But yeah, thank you everyone who's submitted and trusting your work with us. Now, one more comment I do want to read before we move on is Mayday from Space, because she came back and clarified a little more about her story. So she says, I'm so happy that y'all like Boondoggle so much. The tone of the story would lean towards melancholy a lot, I think. I'd want to explore challenges that push how alone and desperate my astronauts are, as well as some that shine light on their technical skills. One pilot could be an engineer jury-rigging a proximity alarm with the ship's trash compactor so they can avoid fire. Another, the crew realizing they've drifted to Sirius or another recognizable star after years of not seeing anything that reminds them of home. Or maybe they even find the Voyager probes. Finally, I'd want to end the story with them all having one last dinner together as the boondoggle runs out of oxygen. Ooh, that is dark. Leaving the story of humanity drifting in the dark seas for the next starship that get lost to find. Oh man, I love it. I had an idea listening to Komugi talk about the lady's blood as well. I think it'd be really cool to represent radiation poisoning in the princess by having more characters of her dragon form persist in her human form, like how Komugi suggested leaning more into the anthro angle. And finally, relentlessly bullied hero is relentlessly intriguing. Feels like a shonen version of the Truman Show. Yes, that is a great way to put it.
Great pitch.
Yeah, that is cool. Thank you so much, Mayday from Space. That was awesome.
I just recently watched the Truman Show, and I think there's a strong case to be made for how it kind of comments on like the world that women typically serve in films, like how the main female lead is like an actress playing the wife of Jim Carrey's character. And I think it's really interesting to think about the way that Hiro Darky Dark making their manga with so much knowledge of like how female characters are presented in manga historically, and that kind of informing their work. I think that was a great comparison.
Yeah,
it's a very self-aware work, The Truman Show. So I really like that. So yeah, that was a great comment. I've got everything up in terms of what we're talking about today, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, and then we'll just want to squeeze this in. The Deathless did get some fan art.
Please.
Ellen Horai posted some fan art of Kay from the Deathless. Amy, you got to watch out. If Ellen keeps drawing this is going to be her waifu. Like legally, if you draw a waifu 100 times, it becomes yours, right? Like
this is a wonderful work, and I wasn't sure when we were going to bring up this drawing in the podcast, but I'm so glad we did it now. I hope Ellen is really glad that we're talking about it, because this is a work that I saw Ellen develop in real time. I actually gave Ellen some advice because they asked for some advice from me privately about how to do shadows, mainly the shadow underneath the leg. I gave inspiration on how to like do that, like where the leg is raised. Let me think about this anatomically. When the right leg is raised like that, and her hands on her knee, how that shadow would go underneath. Yeah, so that was really cool, and it's wonderful to see Ellen's art reach its final point. So thank you for remembering to bring that up.
Yeah, this is some nice background art. It looks like a colored pencil texture. Like I know it's digital, but this is very pleasing. The way that it's textured. Very cool stuff. Thank you so much for sharing, Ellen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have everything opened. So, wise taper. Do we start with What You Got or with Scooter Pitch?
Yeah, let's start with Scooter Pitch. We didn't get any What You Gots. Nobody has any completed works this month.
Oh, in that case, I think I expect that to change next month. That's all I'll say.
Ooh.
With all the new people who have been submitting pitches recently, I think people are going to submit something next month. I have a feeling.
Oh,
I have a friend I know.
Okay, yeah.
So with that said, talk about Scooter Pitch and see what pitch it's. Oh, sorry, you just talk first. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just opening the What You Got submission form. I'm like, wait, nobody like snuck one in last second, right? Okay, no. Okay.
No, there's no last second, but I know a friend who I think is going to have something. That's all I'll say.
The intrigue is building. All right. So let's start. I've been talking a lot. Did you want to read the first pitch?
Oh, gladly. So your name / pen name, pronouns, and which fictional character you most want to marry. Well, what answers did Mayday from Space give us? They are Kenzie or Mayday from Space, all one word. She, her, and I'm the bride of Mothman.
I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see the marriage with Mothman is working out. I want to be there when you renew your vows with Mothman. Hopefully I'm invited.
It's so wonderful to me. I really, really love to see that kind of like monster love.
Yes.
So awesome.
Yes.
And so we have what is your elevator pitch given in the form of series meets series? For example, Suicide Squad meeting Cardfight. Well, for Kenzie's pitch, they said the series meets series is my life as a teenage robot meets Transformers.
I'm in. I'm
Interesting.
in. I love it. I'll take your entire stock.
That is really kick-ass. I love
Yes.
that because it makes sense for them to connect because Transformers is not a series where the mecha are just like piloted mecha or something. It's not even a series where like the mecha are secretly alive, like
Yeah.
Kof Kof Ava. It's actually a series where the mecha are legitimately talking and are like characters who
Yeah.
control themselves. They don't get piloted. So Transformers is about self-sufficient mecha, like robots that
Mhm.
talk. And then My Life as a Teenage Robot, of course, is classic as a robot trying to fit in as a teenage girl, another robot who talks
Yeah.
and has her own self-sufficiency. And
One
that's
of
kind
the
of what the story's
coolest
about.
animation styles ever, hands down. It is just, it is one of the tastiest looking cartoons. All that Art Deco inspiration. Oh, I love it. I love it. One of my faves.
Yeah, it's very inspired by Art Deco. It is also inspired by a style. You probably have heard of this before. Have you ever heard of the UPA style? It used to be
Yeah.
used in the 60s and the 70s. Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like Gerald McBoing Boing, which was an old UPA cartoon, and a lot of Oscar-nominated short films, short animated films from the 60s and 70s used that style. It was like very, very classic, like even kind of Schoolhouse Rock-ish in a way, or Rocky and
Yeah.
Bullwinkle-ish in a way.
Yeah.
Very cool series. So yeah, great series you picked from, and the crossover makes sense because they're both about sentient robots.
Hmm.
Now we could talk about summarize your potential series in one paragraph. This is where to include the series medium if it's not a manga, the intended length, and all your big plans. If you have a title for your work, this is where to include it. If you go over a paragraph, we will make fun of you. So, Kenzie's answer. Toyo is your average 16-year-old military brat trying to stay awake during English class, arguing with her mom about taking JROTC, training to fight the deceptions. Yes, Toyo is more girl than meets the eye. 16 years ago, several Autobot protoforms were given to the US military by Optimus Prime as part of an alliance. Today, Toyo attends Fort Alden High, using her hologram driver form to keep her identity secret, hiding her minivan body as the family car in the school parking lot. Between school drama, military training, and deception bullies, Toyo's gonna need to dare to keep her dream alive if she wants to graduate. More Girl Than Meets the Eye would be a Transformers fanfiction light novel with maybe 2 installation. Very interesting.
Nice. Then for the visual element, we have a Blue Sky post that she linked. Some very cute art
Nice.
of the Autobot minivan and then transforming into
Um,
the robot and then the girl form. The hologram form to be precise.
Mayday from Space is just such a talented artist. I love how they are able to draw such finished and like fully realized and colored pictures just using the medium of pencil and paper. It is
Yeah.
honestly very much an inspiration to me. And that's why when I see them draw something with pencil and paper of Genki and Sienna, as they have done before, I always go, oh my gosh, I feel even more inspired than ever to animate a few more frames of Genki and
Yes.
Sienna tonight
Yes.
with my pencil and paper medium because they do amazing. They do like light effects and like shading and like in this image of Toyo the Autobot when she's in her humanoid form, you can see like fog and like pixel effects, and they're doing that with just pencil and paper. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, this is some good attention to detail in the right places. See, as for like where this could go, I really love this concept because to me, I'm taking this as like, okay, this because season 2 of My Life as a Teenage Robot, it started to get a little more of an action show, and it
It
feels like
did, yeah.
yeah. So it it's like, okay, so what if like we take like the action aspect and we ramp it up? What if we make that a little bit more serious while still keeping it, more like fun and grounded. And I think that this is a very clear vision that Kenzie has presented. And trying to think like what what I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah. If you have any
It's
thoughts.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I have some thoughts. Yeah, this is a very interesting direction to see you go in. I love that there's still a very clear touch of Transformers with still using a lot of the
Yeah.
Transformers language. As a funny story about myself, the reason I got caught up on the word deception is because there was use of Transformers lingo in other
Yeah.
parts of the write-up. So
No,
whenever I heard the word deception, I thought of Decepticon, and I
no,
had to
same here.
correct
Same
myself in
here.
my head. It
Yeah.
says deception. I can't say Decepticon, even though Decepticon's in my head.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it,
No, I feels you there.
which I think was
Yeah.
the inspiration from that word. I think Decepticon was based off deception. That was the
Mhm.
inspiration for the word.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I'm not too familiar with the Transformers world. I watched the most recent theatrical movie. That was pretty good. I remember having a good time. Yeah, but it's interesting like taking like see like Transformers is a huge franchise, so I don't want to like step on myself and be like, "Oh, well," and summon anyone like who knows like actual knows Transformers lore and be like, "Oh, they did that as a spin-off comic." But this concept of taking it and making it a little more grounded and focused on the high school experience, that's very interesting because it is this very big world. Now, one thing with Teenage Robot, because I do know that series, I could talk pretty confidently on that one.
That's
One,
kick ass.
yes, one thing that I feel like that series was missing. Now, I feel like you were saying about shoujo manga that it's kind of got to fight against this stigma of being chick shit. I feel like Teenage Robot
Yeah.
had that. They were fighting against that too because they
Oh,
didn't want to
without a
be
doubt.
seen as a girl show, with this girl protagonist. So I felt like Jenny just didn't have enough female friends. And I feel like that was something very lacking for that show. Like there was the episode where she had all of her sisters, but like I'm trying to remember like if they ever showed up past that one episode, and it's like, no, that'd be cool. Like give her the squad to hang out with. And where like, there was the Crust cousins who were just like evil and mean to her. And it's like, okay, so it was kind of a bummer that the show kind of had to have that mindset where to keep it to not make it too girly, I guess is the way. Like I don't know if that's like official or if like just by happenstance, like, oh, she just happened, like, the protagonist just happened to have two friends that are boys, and the world just kind of sprawled out from there. But I feel like that was something that was missing, because I love My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and like
Yeah.
like that is my baseline for what is a good cartoon. um, like so that is like something that I feel that it could have improved on. And again, like, we're looking at this cartoon that's over 20 years old, and it's like, oh well, could have passed the Bechtel test a little bit easier. If I have that mindset, then it's like, well, I'm judging it with today's mindset where, it is a fun show and I do love it, but like there's like these little things that are missing. Now, I feel like if it's like, okay, I'm going to be inspired by Teenage Robot, I feel like this would have the potential to, I guess, overcome what could be seen as a modern day weakness of Teenage Robot. Now, whether or not that's even a weakness to begin with, that is certainly very subjective.
I actually have thoughts on this.
Yeah, yeah.
I consider myself very much a animation like industry and animation like director and writer like expert. I love to research the writers and directors who work on things, and not because I like rank them or anything. I'm not like,
Yeah.
this Dana Terrace, she's not as good as Alex Hirsch. I'm not like that at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Just for a silly random example. But I
Yeah.
love to research it because it tells me a little bit more about what it would be like if I managed someday to work in that industry, which is a bit of a
Oh, yeah.
dream of mine. Not as like my main career, but I would love someday to work in the animation industry.
Mhm.
And Nickelodeon, who hosted My Life as a Teenage Robot, or at least hosted it for a while until they forced My Life as a Teenage Robot to be a Nicktoons network show, because
Yeah.
Nicktoons is a separate channel. And usually when Nickelodeon forces a show to Nicktoons, that means they're about to kill it. So
Yeah.
that kind of leads me into my point I was going to make. Teenage Robot was hosted by Nickelodeon originally until they made it Nicktoons Network. And
Mhm.
Nickelodeon historically are not fair to girl-led shows or girl
Yeah.
protagonist shows because literally historically they've done it to so many great shows. One of the most famous examples is, I've told you about this author before. Her name is Dana Simpson, and I've told
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
about her work because she's made some web comics. I
Yes.
am not particularly a fan of Dana Simpson's style. I actually had the opportunity to meet her IRL. She's a lovely person. I think
Oh,
she's very talented. I don't particularly enjoy her style, but
okay.
she made a newspaper comic by the name of Phoebe and her Unicorn. And while
Mhm.
I don't care for this comic, it is acclaimed. People love it. They vibe with its style so much. People call it like the modern Kelvin and Hobbes, and it's still
Wow.
running to this day. Phoebe and her unicorn, and Phoebe and her unicorn was about to be animated by a studio, and they tried to pitch it to Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon said, and this is in the modern day, in the 2020s, in the era where we are getting Owl House and Amphibia, which all have female
Mm.
protagonists. Nickelodeon said no one will watch a cartoon with a female protagonist. Get this out of
Oof.
our office. And that is not the
Oof.
first time that Nickelodeon has done it either. They are known for doing this multiple times. So I'm completely agreed with you that Teenage Robot had to fight a hard battle being a Nickelodeon show with a female protag.
Now,
Historically, Nickelodeon are not cool about that.
now I I don't know if that's gonna seem like hypocritical, like coming from me, where it's just like, oh, I want manga that like can play both the shoujo and shonen audience, and maybe that is like deliberately what Teenage Robot was trying to do, where it's like, okay, like we want to deliberately have this gender balance like within the so not like, now that I've said it out loud, it's like, okay, maybe that is what they were trying to do, but I don't know, I like
I agree with what you said. I
yeah.
think that Teenage Robot could have been even better if it was a Cartoon Network show because
Oh yeah.
Cartoon Network at the time had stuff Life and Times of Juniper Lee, or even
Mm,
like a Disney Channel show because Disney Channel had like Kim Possible. I feel like Teenage
yeah.
Robot probably could have gone even longer and could have been even more free to be a show if it wasn't limited
Yeah.
by Nickelodeon. So as a whole, I agree with your statement. Although I'm
Mm.
glad that the show exists, regardless
Oh
of any
yeah.
challenges that
Yeah,
they probably did
absolutely.
face.
Yeah, I think there is, yeah, there was just like a lot of wasted potential with that. Just there's just so many like just very cool, striking like iconography from that show. It's been at least 10 years since I've seen that show. It's like I know I could still like draw like the Vespa Queen from memory. Like, it's like they were like
Aw.
the character designs were just amazing. Like and there's just nothing that comes close to it. It's just one of those really memorable shows that's just really etched with me, and I think that that's kind of like why I like kind of why I'm like, why couldn't it be more like My Little Pony? That's like that's, which is like might be a little unfair to hold it to that
Yeah, I
standard.
understand what you mean.
Yeah.
My Little Pony was very creator driven as well, the great Lauren Faust, and she had a lot of freedom because Hasbro, when they let a creator make a cartoon, they actually respect it. Hasbro had great other shows on their channel,
Yes.
HBO Hub Network. I mean,
Yeah.
they had Dan Versus, which was
That was
crazy. I can't believe
that
there's a
was
kids
cool.
show that had the
Yeah.
jokes like Dan Versus did.
Oh yeah, that was very cool. I know I believe Rob Renzetti of Teenage Robot, I believe he did work on Friendship is Magic. So like
Oh, that's great. I didn't
so
know that.
I could hold on to that. I could be like, you know what? Maybe XJ9 got reincarnated as, sorry, Jenny, I don't want to dead name her. Maybe she's got her pony Sona running around somewhere. Maybe in the pony land.
I laugh at the dead name comment just because it was such a caught me off guard, but that is legit. That is very legit. Like Jenny is very transcoded. Speaking as a
Yeah.
trans woman myself, that is very legit. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want to like speak on the trans stuff over you, but that is like a very trans feeling cartoon.
without a doubt.
Yeah. Like wasn't like I don't want to get too weird, but there was like an episode where she basically went through male puberty, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm not myself anymore." And she has this like panic over, "Oh my god." It's like what it's one of those like, were they trying to make the character trans coded, or was it like, oh, it'd be like a little weird to, because female bodies are scary, so we can't have her have female puberty because that, so we're gonna give her like what, I need some like, I need a director's commentary track.
I am going to give some very deep cartoon lore, and it's going to be a bit of a
Please,
story, but I'm not going to go
please,
too long because I know we
please.
have other pitches to talk about, but it'll be very illuminating, I think. So, I believe that subtle transcoding was very much the theme of the time because it is very present in multiple cartoons, even cartoons that were on Nickelodeon. In particular, we were talking about Lauren Faust earlier,
Mhm.
and she was working on stuff like Powerpuff Girls, which actually historically has had a lot of transcoding within the show. There's been stuff like characters like presenting as another gender or like exploring what it means to be a woman in Powerpuff Girls.
Mm.
And I was also going to say on Nickelodeon itself, literally during the same time that Teenage Robot would have been airing, which would have been the late 2000s, like like 2007, 2008, I want to say. There was also the show getting localized on Nickelodeon. They got dubbed on a Nickelodeon channel. Winx Club was getting brought over, which is an Italian cartoon, but Nickelodeon dubbed it and like produced the later seasons and like had
Mhm.
involvement in their creation. And within Winx Club, there is an entire story arc in the fourth season about it's a little bit of a story. I'll try to keep it as brief as
No, that's
possible.
okay.
There's two factions in Winx Club. There are fairies and there are witches. And fairies are always presented as like really evil and doing secret cauldrons to like torture the fairies and like torment them. And then the fairies are like pure and innocent. But the show challenges that by saying there can be good witches or there can be bad fairies.
Mm.
And there is one character who was born a witch and who wishes to become a fairy. And they literally use the phrase trans fairy. They
Oh
go,
my gosh.
she's a one of those witches who's a trans fairy. And it literally is that exact wording. And this was getting localized on Nickelodeon at the time. And in the English dub, they maintained the trans fairy wording. So
That
what I mean
is,
to say is that definitely, yeah.
yeah, that's about as on the nose as you could get. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Italian animation be cool as hell. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say there's merit to what you said. That was the style of the times.
All right. All right. Kenzie, sorry if we went on too much of a tangent. Because my reaction to this is immediate agree. Please make this. Like,
Please, yes, we love
yeah.
your pitch.
No,
I
it's
love your
just
art, and this is
just
a great
go.
idea.
Just make it, please. Like we're cheering you on. Like, while we were yapping about Teenage Robot, I hopefully you close the podcast. You're not looking back. You're on a writing streak.
Wonderful, wonderful idea. I love this podcast
Oh,
and
I
making it
love
with
it
you,
too.
Caper. It's always so fun.
Yeah, let's do our next one. We got one more
Sounds good.
pitch submission.
Would you like to read this one, or would you like me to?
Either one. I'll do it. So let's see. Your name, pen name, pronouns, and which fictional characters you most want to marry. So we have Crystaline Phos, she, her, and marry Darumi Amamiya from 100 Lion Last Defense Academy. And I looked up this character. I had never heard of them before, but it looks like Juggalo Miku. I must be getting old. I'm sorry I didn't know this anime.
I don't know it either. I'm stumped.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty cool character design. I see the appeal, yeah. All right, and so what is your elevator pitch given in the form of series meets series? And she says, Angel Beats meets My Jungle Book, Your Year. And summarize your potential series.
Yes.
Yeah. Summarize your potential series in one paragraph. So excited for you to get your reaction to this one. I know you're gonna have a lot of thoughts, Komugi. I'm really calling my shot here. But so Crystaline Phos says the medium is a YouTube anime titled Reincarnated in Another Psych Ward. The MC gets reincarnated in Purgatory, and it's kind of like a multiverse of Purgatories, but the MC got reincarnated in Psych Ward Purgatory by mistake. Ensemble comedy with multiple voice actors and animators collaborating. I want the series to be a playground for the artists to meme it up, while also being very sincere, almost like a theater prompt. Through chaos, the series will represent a gambit of human emotions and experiences. And optional, link one image that best sums up your potential series. And let's see. So we have a very cool edit that she posted of a lot of different characters in school. And so it says prompt. Field trip to Killing Game Purgatory. Koopa Cool about to get Koopa booled. And then we got some red text saying, Ayo Darmy, you my Killing Game slave, can't have players messing with my perfect KD. Now, I don't know if I don't know these memes. I think this is slightly more tuned to Gen Alpha than I'm used to. But you know what? I dig the energy. I like it. Now, I want to talk about the medium and the series intent. YouTube Fanime. Now, Komugi, you have way more experience with animation, so what are your thoughts about this?
Absolutely. I have a lot of thoughts. So I want to begin by helping you to further understand the image which was provided alongside this pitch, because I do have some understanding of what it means. So we have someone here who is definitely very fond of the studio, which is known as Spike Chunsoft, to create Danganronpa. So there is a huge theme of like Danganronpa as a game series. It's about kids, they're out of school, but they are in a killing game. And it is sort of inspired by Ace Attorney, or like an Ace Attorney-esque thing where you're figuring out who's the guilty one, but it also is a killing game as well. This genre in Japan that's very popular, like the death game anime. And so the literal prompt going field trip to Killing Game Purgatory and like the screenshots is all to invoke Spike Chunsoft and their games. And I also am fond of Spike Chunsoft not particularly because I like play Danganronpa a lot, although I have tried it and checked it out, but more so because they make a lot of dating sims where you can date mascots. So fuck
Ooh,
yes, Spike Chunsoft, they're pretty cool.
nice.
And they made a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which everyone loves.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah, good developer. So definitely
Okay.
very interested when you're taking inspiration from them and tributing them. Danganronpa is very Gen Alpha, so this is very Gen Alpha coded. We have stuff like Inferno Cop here too, which is like a very popular shitposty anime by Trigger staff,
Okay.
technically Gynax staff as well. So yeah, very Gen Alpha, like funny humor. And
Okay.
also within this pitch, we have a very interesting concept presented of essentially as we're seeing, there's an element of reincarnation in the isekai stories, which are very popular in the modern day. But we're doing it through the realm of a fanime, which I think is very fascinating to explore because there are actually not that many isekai fanime. There are many very cool fanime, including one which is referenced in the series meets series pitch. And if I'm going too fast for you, feel free to
No,
interrupt
no,
and
you're
let
you're
me
doing
know that
great. You're doing
I
great.
need
Keep
explanation.
going. You're doing great.
Awesome. Thank you. So within the series meets series pitch, we see first Angel Beats, which is mentioned, which of course is not a fanime. That is a mainstream anime series, which was produced by, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Production IG, but I'm going to check my stats on that. Production IG, PA Works, my bad. I always get PA Works and Production IG confused because they both start with a P. So Angel Beats is a very, it's a by Key. Key are the classic visual novel studio that also made Clannad, and they made Angel Beats and they made Air and Canon and all of those beloved like make you cry your eyes out. So
Yeah.
Angel Beats is a famous anime based on Key. But the other series that we have in here is one by the name of My Jungle Book Your Year. That is a fanime. So fanime is a type of genre of animation that a lot of us know about where it's anime but it's made by like one person or very few people and it was released on YouTube. So it's like an indie anime. It's very similar to like when you see web comics that are anime inspired that are made by like one person in America. Fanime originally were just getting their start as like Tokyo Mew Mew and Sailor Moon fan series. Like you would see like
Yeah.
I made the new Tokyo Mew Mew and she's hyper dimension miracle Mew Mew.
Yeah.
It'd just be like very cutesy, like very innocent, obviously made by a kid. But fanime very quickly became something way more like high effort and like in depth. And one of my favorite content creators to talk about fanime is Shitty Kickflips. So definitely look into that channel if you want to hear more about what makes fanime so special. But yeah, this series is very much inspired by cool fanime on the internet, such as My Jungle Book, Your Year. And I think I'm going to slow down now because I'm going really fast. But yeah,
No,
very cool.
you're
I
good.
love fanime.
No, I think that this structure for this fanime where and encouraging other people to plug their ideas in and their characters, I think this is a great format for getting other people on board. Like I really love this as a collaborative structure. I think that this concept that you could go a lot of different places and to think the sticky part is going to be like how making everyone getting the people on board and having that collaborative element because I think if because like Komugi you were talking about your Puppy Amiyumi reanimated.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that like you can it's just like you have your thing that you work on and then like and it's just like independently a lot of different people having their thing that they work on. Now this is really cool because it's format where a lot of you can have independent collaborations coming together to form this universe. Now, the problem is like how do you get people wanting to participate in your universe? With a reanimated project, it's like, okay, here's this really cool nostalgia property. Let's all take a crack at it. That makes sense, getting people on board for that. I think now here's my terrible advice for the episode. Now, I think because you don't have that big nostalgia property to tap into. But I think that like once you get the ball rolling, it will be easier for people to want to jump in and be part of it. So I think that now I'm sorry if this is like a little too like self-explanatory or you're already thinking of doing this. Animation memes like is like kind of what I'm thinking like how do animation memes permeate and where it because I'm thinking more of like okay if there's a cool song with a simple animation that people can copy and plug their original characters or waifus into, that's like very inspiring or I'm going to redraw this music video so it features my husbando. that's like all I freaking watch on YouTube is that and Miku dance animations. That's
That's so
it's
real.
stuff
That is
like
such a
that.
relatable moment.
It's stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm thinking like if you can like tap into something like that, because if you can try to make a cool animation meme format to get people to try to copy it. And I think that the way to, because if you just say like, hey, here's this new animation meme, everybody come on, let's all draw my animation meme, then it's like that can look a little, I'm sorry for being crass, but it can look a little desperate to be like, hey, because I get it when people are like, oh, draw this in your style, and it's like just their character. It's like, okay, well, you're just kind of asking for free art of your OC, like, and I get why people do it. I'm not throwing too much shade, but it is like, okay, but you have to have like a certain level of popularity for people to be like, oh yeah, I'll draw your OC in my style. That's cool. So I'm thinking like starting from like, how do you do this from nothing? And so I'm thinking if you want this to get traction, I think your first step would be to participate in other animation memes and to try to get yourself
Agreed.
in that community and to be like a person who is taking other people's like mid-level animation memes and like bigger one, and like try to like get like a balance of, okay, this meme's popping off, I'll draw this one. And I think that once you start making more connections within animation memes and like fanimes and drawing other people's fanimes and things like that, I think then that's when you start rolling out like, okay, here's this animation meme for my world, for reincarnated in a psych ward, and you start making your own like little episodes for it. That's kind of my mindset, how I would go about it. This is a really cool concept, and I know that people would want to participate in it as long as like you have that solid foundation of being like, okay, this is cool, this is something that people want to participate in. But I think that you would also kind of have to give back a little and show like, hey, I also like, I want to draw other people's stuff, so it's not just like, hey guys, I have this cool idea, you should draw for me. What I'm not saying you're doing it. I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm not saying you're doing that. I think that this is like an idea that would benefit from trying to get more of that dialogue and try to do like art trades and things like that.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what else I was missing. but yeah, like I said, just really love this idea.
That is so real to say. I have a lot of different thoughts to say, but it's also funny because you totally said wonderful things that I was going to suggest as well, which I'm glad that you said them because you probably expanded on them even more than I could have. I was going to recommend the same thing of participating in reanimated projects or in animation memes or in what we call AMVs, which
Yeah.
are not actually anime music videos nowadays. Nowadays, AMV has gained the term that basically means animated music video, not anime, but
Mhm.
animated music video. And you see a lot of this in fandoms such as the Warrior Cats fandom, where
Yes.
they all come together and each person animates like 5 seconds and they all put it together and sync it to a song. And it's really like a reanimated, but it's
Mhm.
not reanimating anything. It's just turning the Warrior Cats books into animations. I've seen that a lot because I love like girl media and like stuff that really is like gaining a strong cult fandom of girls, and Warrior Cat's the classic example of that. So definitely participate in these animation collabs. They're very easy to find open ones because there's always open ones. And just participate in one that you feel like confident that you will be able to get along with the creators and like you vibe with their channel. Like if you go on their channel and they're like obviously very young and like you don't think that you'll be able to talk to them like
Yeah.
easily, then maybe don't participate in that one. But if you
Mhm.
find one that seems like mature enough and like you are confident participating in it, then go for it because all you have to do is animate 5 seconds of content and then you get to participate in something that's going to be really long and it's going to be like minutes long because of everyone's contributions. And I'm so glad that you suggested that
Yeah.
taper as well. It's a great way to show that you are making content and it will direct views to their channel. As I have mentioned earlier in this podcast when I was talking
Mhm.
about everything that Hi Hi Puffyami Yumi Reanimated did for me. And now I feel bad because I don't have too many ideas of my own to give to the project, but I do
Mhm.
have something funny to send to the
Yeah.
chat. The entire time while you were talking about how much you love that, I was really enraptured focused, but I was also fidgeting with my hands. And I'm going to send a picture to the chat. I've literally been doing this the whole
Oh my
time.
gosh. I love it. I love it. We got some
I
great art
recently
in the
learned to
making.
crochet.
I love it.
I love fidget stuff, and I always would, like, play with a fidget cube or, like, something like that. It just, like, keeps my hands busy when I'm really
Yeah,
excited, and I never thought in a million years I'd know how to crochet, but I have been exploring more nowadays, and I
that's
met someone
awesome.
IRL, and they sat me down and taught me how to crochet while I was out and about in public exploring, and there's
Oh,
someone I met at the library, and it was just so
oh,
cool,
that's
and so
so
now I can
cool.
fidget, and what I'm fidgeting is making a crochet. So someday, Taper, I'm gonna get you a little gift basket or something, and I'm
Oh,
gonna send you a crocheted scarf or something
oh,
like
I
that.
love
I
that.
love to do it
Thank
when I'm
you.
excited. Of
Aw,
course.
I'm so touched. Thank you. Aw, aw. I think oh, yeah, that was one more thing. Maybe Kabugi, maybe you could speak a little more on this issue, but for
Sure.
me, collaborations are a little bit scary
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm very particular about like, with my commissions, art trades for a scooter pitch. I'm very particular about like, hey, you keep it on the Google form. I only want to talk about it on the Google form. Like when my IRL friends are like, hey, I have an idea for scooter pitch podcast, I tell them, shut the F up. Put it on the Google form if you got this great idea. Like I like that, like that's like a me problem where, and it's also like, it also like helps with, keeping clear boundaries. If somebody says like, oh, why don't you read this manga? It's easy for me to say like, well, if you put it, if it's something you made and you want me to read it, you put it on the scooter pitch. So, like, so it is nice being able to say that. Now for animation projects, I'm thinking like, I don't know like what style of communication you would want to do to encourage collaboration. I don't know if Komugi, if you can speak to how reanimated projects are organized like that, because I know I go pretty extreme with, hey, everything's got to be very particular about this way, and if you don't, I am blocking you forever. Like I get pretty freaking extreme with, especially commissioners. I got a real problem if somebody wants to talk commissions outside of a form. But again, that's just me. A lot of other people are, they're way more chill. That's just kind of like how they operate. So I'm wondering how do you do it with your reanimated projects?
Absolutely. So reanimated projects are very cool because what it gives you as a predetermined audience is anyone who cares about that IP, which usually is going to be quite a few people, even if it is for something obscure like Hi Hi Puffy Ami Yumi. That is a pretty forgotten Cartoon Network
Mhm.
cartoon, but it has nostalgia for people in the same way that something like Cat Dog has nostalgia,
Oh
like an
yeah.
old cartoon that people just know about it. And so what I mean to say is that it has a pre-built audience. Anyone who's interested in Hi Hi Puffy Ami Yumi as a nostalgia thing is also going to be interested in like hashtag animeified versions of them on like
Yeah.
Twitter or something, or like I should say Blue Sky on the
Yeah.
better site, Blue Sky.
Yeah.
So like people are going to be interested in a reanimated project of that because you're getting like 100 or 200 different animators coming together, each drawing it in their own style. I mean, in particular for me, I drew it in the style of the Jewel Pet and the Onagai My Melody, the shojo girl shows. I drew Hi Puffy Yami Yumi in that shojo style. So that's like one style you get to see it animated in. So with this pre-built audience, you basically will see people who will be advertising their reanimated project. And usually if one is popular enough, you will literally see the reanimated project getting advertised on like major social media platforms that talk about cartoon news. So one of the most popular ones, I believe they're called like Cartoon Brew or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. It might not be
Cartoon
Cartoon
Brew. Yeah, I know
Brew.
which one you're
I
talking
think
about.
Cartoon Brew will literally post on Blue Sky with every new reanimation that is happening. So I found out about, or at least every one that gets enough attention that like isn't just being run by like a small group, but like is getting enough attention like that actually seems to like become something. And sometimes Cartoon Brew will like report on a reanimated project and then it will go under. It won't get made. But that's
Yeah.
okay because the purpose of Cartoon Brew reporting on it and these other like major animation like social medias reporting on it is to get people to participate. So if you
Yeah.
follow like the popular cartoon pages, they will tell you when new ones are getting started and you're responsible for, this is your own judgment, looking at one and seeing if it seems reputable and if it seems like the
Mm.
creators know what they're doing and if it's going to get finished. Because it really comes down to if the creators, the hosts, as we call them, are getting enough people involved and like getting reputable people involved who are like clearly like putting time into it and like making something legit. Because you sometimes can get reanimated projects that like people have talked about that have got canceled because people said they were going to participate and then they didn't follow through, or
Yeah.
they ended up just like using clip art off of Google That has happened before. So you
No.
hear about it from a popular social media cartoon page that a new reanimated is happening, and then you use your own judgment to determine if it is reputable, and then that is when you choose to participate. And then if you want to host your own, the steps would of course be to make a page for it, like make a Blue Sky, make a YouTube, make all the social medias, and
Yeah.
get in contact with these cartoon social media pages to let them know that you're making your reputable one. You should be promoted by them because they will put the word out there if you're serious about it and you're hosting your own. But if you just want to participate in one, yeah, just look for them. They're very easy to find. They're getting reported on, and pick one that you trust.
That's solid advice. I didn't know that there was this promotional network. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I can't I can't speak to how it would be to manage something like that. Yeah, I think that the way that you explained it does seem more doable to like, especially like I think especially because of this format that's presented here, it does seem easy for people to just jump in, and then if nobody takes the prompt, then it's like, well, we just move on to another episode or another meme. And that's pretty cool. I will say though, don't be afraid to block people. Like, I don't know what boundaries like you're comfortable with. You know, if you're someone who's like, you know, just fine talking shop with anyone at any time, or if, you know, if you're more like me and you're more neurotic about keeping things very organized. I think that's like just something important to keep in mind with when you are collaborating with people. But then that gets more into life
I have
advice.
participated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have participated in some reanimated projects that didn't get made, and it can really hurt. What is
Mm.
good is that I experienced it young when I was a kid, and so I learned the lessons young, and so now I'm like happy about it and like genuinely interested to participate in new ones. Like I'm not downtrodden. My spirits haven't been crushed. But yeah, when I was young, when I did get my spirits crushed when I was young because I participated in one, and I'm not even going to say what IP it
Yeah.
was. I don't want to bring up drama,
Yeah.
but I participated in one, and what really sucked is that the creator realized he wasn't getting enough submissions, or like he didn't
No.
the submissions weren't coming in before the deadline. And so for some reason what he decided to do was to try pivoting to a different reanimated project that he thought would be a more popular series. And so what he did in an attempt to transfer his previous audience into the new audience is he converted his server into the new reanimated. And so
No.
what that means is that any previous submissions that were posted in an old channel, he deleted that old channel for the original reanimated
No.
project. And this double sucked because I was a dumb kid. I was a teenager. I did not save backups of what I
Oh.
animated. I made a beautiful animation and I would have loved to repost it on my channel to like at least get some attention. Even if the project was canceled, at least I could repost my part. But it was gone forever because the only place I posted it in was the Discord, which then got converted and thus my work got deleted forever.
That hurts. Yeah, I think that's definitely, you know, because we're drifting away from how to make this a good story, more of like how to manage people, and this is not a
Yeah,
business
save
management
backups.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep backups. Don't be afraid to block. And what was the third? Yeah, just be clear with people. I think like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're starting to have that feeling of like, hey, we only got a few guys, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Like, I mean, it does unfortunately happen, but like I think like there's a very fine line between like, you know, oh, we're not gonna make it, and I gotta be real with you, versus like I'm gonna guilt people, and maybe somebody will, you know. And as a creator, like, you know, you can be hurt that nobody's doing your thing, and you know, and it's very easy to get the ego involved. And yeah, again, I don't want to speak too much to to the psychology of
Sorry
it.
that we got so distracted again,
Yeah.
but I love these kind of
Oh
discussions.
yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know what makes for a better podcast. The trying to remember Teenage Robot, was Teenage Robot woke enough, or the I'm gonna try to maybe secondhand give some business advice podcast.
I am so glad we went in these directions, and I just wanted to remind you of one more thing because I know we're starting to wind down, starting to get a
Yeah,
little bit loopy because we've been going for so long, which
yeah,
has been wonderful. We should remember to plug the two
yes,
people's pages. I
yes,
don't think we did the plugs
yeah.
of either.
We didn't do the plugs. Let's do the plugs and call it a night. So Crystaline Phos has a YouTube channel, and yeah, so
Wow. I'm
Crystalline.
looking at it right now too.
Yeah. Well, she has, so it's youtube.com/@CrystalinePhos6097. And Yeah, so we got a couple Deltarune videos. Very cool. I think
And that profile pic is so fascinating. I don't know what show that is.
yeah,
It looks like Techno Lies, maybe. Interesting.
interesting. Yeah, let us know what anime that's from. Definitely. Yeah,
Please do.
hopefully you'll start posting your animations soon. Very cool, very cool. And then want to backtrack to Mayday from Space, and she says, and under her socials and anything you want to plug, she says, my Blue Sky and YouTube are Mayday from Space. Please read Star Thief. The first issue is currently releasing as I complete pages. Yes, I've seen a little bit of Star Thief. It's very cool. It's very much Mayday from Space's aesthetic and vibe. It's very cool to see her making a comic. See if I can get that link up. But yeah, hopefully when the first issue's completed, you'll send it into the podcast and we can do a more thorough review of it.
Yeah. Thank you to the 2 people who submitted scooter pitches this week. Yeah, this month. And we look forward to seeing you next month. That gives you all plenty of time to submit more pitches and to submit us a what you got. And I have a good
Yeah.
feeling for people in our audience and a friend of mine that we're going to have some what you gots.
Oh,
I only have one question.
yeah.
Is someone allowed to submit a what you got and a scooter pitch at the same
Yes.
time? Because
Yes.
that's the question I wanted
You
to
can
ask about
do
for a friend.
one on each.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right, that's everything I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And thanks for another great podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I do still want to think of a better name for the what you got form. I want to think of something more on brand. We got our scooter pitches and then like what else? The bicycle accomplishments. Like, all right, I'll read off the members. Surprisingly, the members keep going up, but the pitches keep going down. I'm not trying to guilt anyone, but like a little surprising. That's I thought this podcast would be the only reason people would sign up. But thank you all so much. So we got Pika Pika 2000, Amy Worrell, Jester with a 3, Pill Blacks, Sire Forsetti, Ellen Horai, Zorby C8, Hero Darky Dark, Enoch VA, Mayday from Space, X0XL, Canadian Turtle, Crystaline Phos, and Odunze's Mole. Odunze's Mole rejoined 14 days ago. Really glad to see you back, Odunze's Mole. Come back. You made one of the most memorable pitches. Please make some more. I'm personally calling you out, Odunze's Mole.
Please do. It was so memorable. It was really fun talking about the kimono drenched underbelly.
Oh yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Thanks you all so much to everybody here, and thanks again everyone who commented on AI is Evil. I'll keep you all updated on the manga I'm working on. Everybody go follow Komugi. I think I've made this outro long enough. Komugi's stuff will be linked in description. I have everyone else who submitted. I'll put your plugs in the description as well. But yeah, thank you all so much. This was a lot of fun, Komugi. Thank you so much for getting together with me, talking, hanging out.
A pleasure as always. Bye, everyone.